Hello, everyone. Welcome to Diversified Lifelong Advisor, where our mission is to have you living a life filled with wealth, health, and happiness. My name is Andrew Rosen, president of Diversified Lifelong Advisors. Today, we have a very special guest, the impressive and much cooler than me, Eric Berley. Eric is the owner of Franklin Fountain, a Philadelphia staple, and according to my wife, the best ice cream shop on the planet. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you, Andy, and thanks for inviting me to your platform.
My pleasure. I know our listeners are going to be excited and hungry after this interview. So let's get started. Tell me about yourself.
Well, my brother and I have to sort of tell you about my family so you understand who I am. My family, very passionate about historic buildings and antiques. So we grew up in an antique shop in Media, Pennsylvania, on Baltimore Pike, and our mother is still an antique dealer. And my first job was in retail, selling antiques to people, helping out. And really, I went to William and Mary to go to school in philosophy and religion. And I saw all these people, saw these dressed up characters in colonial garb. And then I got a job at Christ Church here across the street in Old City as a tour guide at Benjamin Franklin's gravesite. And
Cool.
um, the entrepreneurial bones that our mother gave my brother and I, we put it all together in this whole idea of an old-fashioned ice cream business named after Benjamin Franklin, and it was a soda fountain called the Franklin Fountain. That idea was a mutual venture and something that we've been working at for about going on 17 years. About myself, I'm a philosophy type, so I'm very interested in thinking and understanding and consciousness, and really just pleased to be able to give delight to people, which is our mission in the business.
That's cool. So you start thinking about ice cream and talk a minute about the other spin-offs, if you will. But what was the inspiration behind food, or more specifically, everyone's favorite pastime, ice cream, and the happiness with it? What inspired you to go that direction with it?
Well, sometimes I think we look at life um, very forward, and we do things and forget about them. And I had forgotten that in fourth grade, I had dressed up as Milton Hershey and wrote a book report and dressed up as Milton with a caramel cart that I borrowed from my mom. And my brother was interested in Milton Hershey too. So he, as a younger brother, I wanted to do what my older brother was interested in. My side of things was always the food. I was really interested in the confectionery making, being in the kitchen, experimentation at the batch. So that's kind of how it was baked into me. My
No pun
brother and I,
intended.
no pun intended. Yeah, my brother and I had a kitchen that we grew up in where it was designed to be a soda fountain back in the 70s. And our mother and father collected Norman Rockwell illustrations on the walls. So Americana was just kind of who we were. And I apprenticed with my wife's family business up in Buffalo, New York before we opened. I learned how to make ice cream commercially. And then I eventually applied that knowledge into our venture here in Philadelphia.
Oh, that's really cool. And so, for those that don't know, Franklin Fountain has a 1910 theme, old school registers, not old school prices, right? They've come to modern times with their pricing model, but it's really a cool throwback scene. So, on that, Eric, when I think about the 1910s, When I think about a simpler time where you bought soda pop for a nickel and you ran in the streets and you just carefree, you weren't attached to technology. Have you seen a shift as customers have come to your store? Do you have any good stories or anecdotes that people come in and are transformed, or it this theme actually impacts them in a positive, influential, happiness way?
Yeah, I think we're all looking for connections, real ones, not just through a digital platform. And that is often forgotten, that one can have ice cream in a piece in a molded glassware in the real physical world. The trend in ice cream shops, has gone to plastic and everything is to go, and of course that's good and fine during COVID um, reasons. But we were really trying to pull back and say, how could we make a more rich experience for people at retail that would allow more conversation um, than what you might get at the local Dairy Queen. There's a little more thought and a little more love that's poured into every scoop. And that starts at the batch level. That starts with each customer experience and guest service. And it's really just one total package. We're selling experiences as opposed to just a product.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because that's what we try to do at our firm. It's about the experience. So, confession time for you, and not confection time, confession time, if you will. So, I met my wife in Philadelphia. We met at a bar right next to you called Drinkers Tavern, and her favorite ice cream store in the whole world was Franklin Fountain, and we were pregnant with our first oldest daughter, Aviva, and your place, you see the movies where you have to run out in the middle of the night and get your wife's craving. Well, that was your place. So talking to you today really it brings me it for me, maybe not to 1910, maybe more to 2012 or whatever, but it throws me back to a simpler time in my life, and I thought you'd appreciate that being
Oh, I love
digital.
that, and I love that, and your experience is so rich, for you in having walked through that experience yourself. I just wanted to touch on something that you said about prices, because I think so. The ice cream world is very conservative. Very conservative, meaning the prices go up very slowly in the freezer aisle in supermarkets. The beer aisle and the craft coffee world and the craft wine world. There's all the craft chocolate world. We have bigger margins, frankly, and there's just less education out there in the wider market. But I wanted to mention one thing that's really key to understanding the difference between value and price. And the idea of value it includes relationship. It's not just a transaction with a product, but an experience is about a longer term relationship, and is why we focus on experience, because it's our value proposition in the market. We're actually specialists that have traveled around the world studying candy shops and ice cream stores and chocolate factories, and we feel like that we love to share those stories as part of our value, even just here today with your audience.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And quite frankly, it's how I look at the value we do with our client. Even this interview alone is not a it's not a money making activity for naturally for either of us. Quite frankly, this is a value to our clients and to our prospective clients and friends. And yeah, it totally jives with me. I appreciate that. And whatever the price is, my wife will tell you it is well worth it because it really is that good of ice cream for all those listeners who haven't had the pleasure right off Market Street. So you mentioned COVID. Obviously, it's no secret that the restaurant business, I mean, business in general, but specifically hit hard was the restaurant industry, the food takeout industry over the past year. And look no further than we just talked about the value and the experience of going and getting the whole je ne sais quoi of Franklin Fountain the past year that was null and void. So what did you learn as a business owner, as a person, as a human being? Sounds like you're a person of faith about your personal wealth, health, or happiness, all of the above, none of the above. Just I'm curious your reflection being someone that was in a really hurt industry and a business owner and a leader.
Yeah, thank you so much. That question is, I could spend hours talking about this, but I want to be respectful of your time. But I would just generally, I want to lay it out kind of clearly as to what businesses that Ryan and I have been in, and then how it's changed our perception, perhaps. Most of our eggs have been in the retail ice cream business. No surprise. Um, we make most of our profit in the company in the retail ice cream business. We also have a candy store. So we have a retail and online presence. We ship chocolates and candies. So that's a smaller portion. But also, Ryan and I have the bricks. So we have the real estate company that we receive rents from the business. So we have at least four buildings. We have a warehouse. We have four buildings on Market Street plus a warehouse. And finally, we started, we have a wholesale business. That's a very small piece of the business. But the model, like you said, was if you build it, they will come. And we've had to sort of shift some of our thinking about where a more diversified uh, self and fulfillment can come in. So actually, um, instead of it being just about people coming to us, we started doing farmers markets last summer, taking products and the experience to them.
Oh, that's
Much of my time has been spent in research and development, figuring out how to grow a wholesale ice cream brand, in addition to strategic partnerships with the logistics, the fulfillment, the customers, who are we going to sell to? And finally, I would say that given that the business was so hurt by COVID, 63% down in 2020, that really while I was doing all this research for the business, I've been doing a lot of ideation for a business of my own, independent, but informed by a lot of that knowledge of the market and what that might look like. And um, I don't have anything to share specifically as a business plan, but basically it's the fact that I have a family with two kids. I need to have steady income. And when, some global pandemic comes around that we weren't expecting, we have to be diversified from a farming perspective, like have lots of different things so that if one year, corn gets hit real hard, we've got peas and beans that'll lessen that. We've been so fortunate with all of doing things right, but by the government, PPP and getting those bailouts literally saved my job, saved my company, and we're just sort of in this new game of saying, well, out of it all, what does the hybrid look like? I don't think we're going to go all the way back, but we won't just be an exclusive farmers market brand either. So it's in that space of learning from what was successful, doing a lot of trial and error, saying, we're actually going to probably be happier with making less income, which is a very in the moment, which seems odd to say that, but for a long-term strategy is potentially more sustainable for ourselves and for our staff.
Oh, that's great. So you said two things that I really, really resonate with me. One, you said the word diversified, and which speaks to sort of our philosophy and your business philosophy. And there's lots of ways to diversify. Two is something that I think is really cool that you said, which reminds me of the old saying, you can't have a rainbow without clouds, right? I mean, that's just the reality. And so through those clouds came a rainbow for you, which is you reinvented yourself. Right? If not for COVID, and although it was a tough year for just about everyone on this planet, unless you're Amazon, um, you you would have most likely gone about your business with your profitability and enjoying life as you knew it. And this
Mhm.
forced you to reinvent yourself and kickstart some things that were probably ruminating in the back of your head. And I love that. I love that. I mean, I I can only imagine the growth that will come from that for you and your business and your ventures, which is exciting. Thanks for sharing that. So, Eric, a couple more questions here, and I'll let you get back to the ice cream game. So, one of our missions here is to promote a life of wealth, health, and happiness, as we've spoken about. How do you think your work in general has um, has led to that? And it could be personally, it could be
Yeah. Well, um, I think on the health side, my, our father is a retired physician. We've got family that have been nurses and doctors, um, and and there have been some in my research. I have found a milk, for instance, that is considered to be um, a milk that basically uh, makes people not uh, feel discomfort, like a lot of milks lead to lactose intolerance,
sure.
and so what you're seeing in the dairy aisle is a lot of oat milks and coconut milks and soys and all this kind of beating up the dairy world. And I was very fortunate, actually, in the pandemic to launch a new total product and kind of an exciting project using this A2 milk that's grass grazed. It's a very single herd from Lancaster, from this Amish man that is bringing Guernsey cows. And um, I've I've had this hot. It's a hot chocolate product, so it was a launched holiday hot chocolate in glass quarts. And so for me, I have always been interested in health, human health. But when you're selling sugar, it can be like, what are you, are you being disingenuous to the public by selling sugar? Well, I think we all know, and it's important to remember that um, good things come in moderation, and yeah, particularly intentional holiday candies or intentional ice cream really can be taste, I'll call it, sweeter than having it every day, when you can have the discipline to save up and have with my kids, we have ice cream on the weekends. And it's like building in that resistance or resilience through saying no and then actually indulging. So I would say, so Drexel this week is actually calling me about an ice cream they're in development for, that's supposedly a healthy ice cream. And I am kind of being tapped for my industry knowledge and connections to maybe I can help someone down the road, uh, like connect the dot for them in some way. And some entrepreneur at Drexel and with an idea that can actually um, help someone in their diet and their love for ice cream. So there's a big section in the freezer aisle for specialty diet frozen desserts, and there's a lot of misunderstanding, and there's a lot of savvy marketing, and a lot of there's a lot of mixed messages when you go to the
Sure.
freezer aisle, unless you know what you're doing. That you can be maybe misled. So I'm interested in the health side of how that, same with chocolate. I eat a 90% chocolate, which means 10% is sugar, and I'll call that desk chocolate for myself. I'll eat it. I don't have to worry about eating too much of it. And then I'll have a 70% chocolate selectively with maybe a tea in the afternoon. But again, I have to be careful because it adds a little inflammation to my face. Um, so that's on the health side. The happiness side is really just about relationships and building them up here on site within our company, amongst our suppliers. I love doing supplier visits, and we've changed um, our process to being able to make our own chocolate at Shane's, and that means underlying health, wealth, and happiness, I would say, would be your values and your principles. And if you're in alignment with your values and principles, in our case, making chocolate not only gives us more flexibility from a production and diversity of different chocolate products, but also the beans themselves are not part of child slave labor in West Africa. And it's like that's a reality in commodity chocolate that is one of those sad realities that, as a values led company, we want to align ourselves with both um, our values of ethical sourcing, transparency, and frankly, young people are like yearning for working for companies that want to be in alignment with their values. And as a result, if they are preaching what they're doing, and it means they're less profitable in the first point, you'll have happier workers, because they're invested into the values and the principles of what you're doing, what you're about. It's kind of like it's a different strategy to being competitive.
No, it makes sense. And I love the message. So, all right, since we're a firm that tries to promote happiness, what makes you happy, Eric?
Well, I think I'm increasingly learning to to balance and to self-care. And um that includes everything from, walking down the street to an art gallery, to really like put myself in a place of, hey, maybe one day I can afford paintings from this place, and that'll make me happy. I think I'm talking myself into some more dark chocolate
Yeah.
today as I'm thinking about it. um I brought in, packaging on it, honestly, for the business. I'm so interested in new ideas, and um, seeing things pushed to being a progressive thinker in reducing waste and the environmental impact that our business has. That really just gets me excited about business. Now, of course, I have family, and my kids make me happy, and just building a relationship with my family, deepening deepening our love for each other is just a piece of happiness.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. That's awesome. That's Thanks for sharing that, Eric. So, tell me, now that we're at the end of our interview, is there one last thing you'd like to leave our listeners with before I let you plug all your wonderful businesses and where they can learn more? But what is the last message you want to leave?
I think it is really crucial to have your total life be in alignment with your values. And for me, um, I've joined a faith driven entrepreneurship group that really wrestles with the faith piece, and you're also managing the needs and wants of your customers and your business, but to be completely open, so that all of your values, you're in a process, and not to give up. Don't give up if not all of your chocolate is bean to bar chocolate. Like, this is a process, so don't give up. Stay in alignment with the values that you hold dear, and make it all throughout. Don't hold something in the shadow in a closet that doesn't get the light of day. Let truth and those values kind of suss out, and you'll feel better about it. And as a result, you'll be a happier person.
Well, I like the sound of that. And I think it's great advice. Be true to yourself and to your values, and happiness should follow, which is great. And this is this is my platform for delivering happiness, and yours is more exciting because it's more instant gratification. So, Eric, we have all these great businesses. I'm sure everyone watching this, listening to it, is thinking about ice cream and chocolate and all sorts of wonderful goodies. Tell them where they can learn more about you guys, your businesses, your all try your stuff. This wholesale or delivery is pretty neat. So, give us a quick plug as far as where people can go to learn more, or more ideally, try your stuff.
Yeah, so we have our shops in Old City, Philadelphia, 116, 110, and 112 Market Streets. And it's the franklinfountain.com that you can explore our ice cream shop, and shanecandies.com to explore our candy store. It's America's oldest candy store. We ship chocolates and candies year round, directly across the nation. And we're here every day. We're serving people. And we've been doing this for over 16 years. And we're so fortunate just to be in the city of Philadelphia, and to be able to be a place that people can be delighted, and experience just a little bit of the old fashioned ice cream and candy world.
That's awesome. And I highly suggest, as does my wife, that everyone here check out his delicious treats that Franklin Fountain and companies deliver. Eric, I'd like to thank you on behalf of all of us at Diversified, and my wife, and now my children, who, because of you, I'm convinced are also addicted to ice cream. But I'd like to thank you for what you're doing. I'd like to thank you for being a guest here today. And I look forward to staying in touch with you. And as always, everyone, if you like this, please not only give Eric some business and patronize him, but also share this interview with others you think would appreciate it. As always, I'm Andrew Rosen, president of Diversified Lifelong Advisors. Stay wealthy, stay healthy, and stay happy. Take care.